Today, let's talk about something we experience all the time, but almost never really notice: silence. We have this tendency to think of it as just nothing, right? An empty space between sounds. But what if we've been missing half the story this whole time?
Just let that sink in for a second. When we look back at history, what do we find? We find records of everything that was said, what was written, what was sung. But all the silences, what wasn't said, what was held back, what was just felt, that part is always lost. It's just gone.
So let's really dig into that idea. What if silence isn't a void at all, but a rich, complex, and super meaningful part of our experience that we've just never had the words for?
To get why we overlook silence so much, we kind of have to start with our overwhelming bias for sound. And the source material for this has such a great name for it: the conspiracy of speech. The word origin here is actually fascinating. Conspire literally means to breathe together. So in that sense, language is our collective agreement to breathe out words. But what about the inhale? That pause, that held breath? Well, that's the silence that has to come before any speech can even happen, and our whole conspiracy of speech just tends to ignore it.
And this right here just shows our cultural bias perfectly. We treat speech like it's a real, tangible thing, something to be recorded and valued. But silence? We treat it like it's nothing, an absence, instead of a presence in its own right. So how do we even begin to correct this imbalance? Well, the idea here is pretty radical. A dictionary dedicated to naming the unsaid.
And yeah, it's a total paradox, isn't it? Using words to define something that exists beyond them. This dictionary of silence is really an attempt to create a vocabulary for all those spaces between our words, to kind of map the huge, unnamed territory of our experiences.
This whole project was actually born from a personal failure, a moment where the author realized that silence was just more precise, more true than any words they could possibly use. And it just highlighted this massive gap in our language. We need words for these moments, for this before speech, this silence that holds all the potential of what might come next.
Okay, so let's look at 4 entries from this dictionary, and I'm willing to bet you have felt every single one of these, even if you never ever had a name for them until right now.
First up is abruption. Now, this isn't an interruption, not at all. This is what happens when communication is so successful that words just become unnecessary. The meaning gets there before the sentence does, so it just stops.
And this is what makes abruption so amazing. It's like the ultimate success of communication, not a failure. That shared arrival is the silence. It's a moment of deep connection, where you are so completely understood that the words just dissolve. Their job is already done.
Next, we have after quiet. And there's a crucial point here. Sound leaves a residue. The silence that follows, say a gunshot, is fundamentally different from the silence after a symphony ends. The silence is actually shaped by the sound that came right before it.
Just think of a concert hall right after that final note fades. That moment, it has this almost sacred feeling to it. The silence is still holding the music, letting it settle in the air. And to break it too soon, it feels like a violation, because that after quiet is just as much a part of the performance.
All right. Now for a silence that is just brimming with tension. An expectant hollow isn't just any old silence. No, it's a silence that's shaped around a very specific absence. It's a space that's waiting to be filled by one particular thing.
This silence is not empty, not at all. It's a hollow with a very precise shape, a shape formed around the words, "I love you too." The entire world can feel like it's contracting into that little hollow, just waiting for it to be filled. It's a silence defined completely by what is missing from it.
And finally, there's estrangement silence. This is so different from the silence between strangers. Strangers don't have a history. This silence is heavy. It's heavy with the weight of everything that used to be known and spoken between two people.
And that is what makes this silence so painful. It's not the neutral silence of not yet knowing someone. It's a silence built on top of the entire archive of a former relationship. It's a silence that holds everything you've lost. So, right about now, you might be thinking, okay, these are cool concepts, but why does giving them a name actually matter? Well, it matters because words don't just label our experiences. In a way, they help complete them.
Take the word sonder. That sudden realization that every stranger you pass has a life as vivid and complex as your own.
People had that feeling long before the word existed, right? But once it was named, that feeling could be held, it could be understood, it could be communicated. A name gives an experience a handle, a little purchase in our minds.
And really, that's the whole point. This isn't about memorizing some new vocabulary list. It's about using these concepts as a brand new tool for paying attention.
A word like abruption isn't the experience of abruption itself. Of course not. It's just the finger pointing you towards it. It's a tool that helps you notice something you might have otherwise just missed completely.
By giving us a language for silence, this whole idea is really an invitation to become more attentive inhabitants of our own lives. It encourages us to listen not just to the notes, but to the rests, to the pauses that give the music its shape.
So I'll leave you with this question. What silence will you notice today? Will it be the eruption of a shared thought with a friend, the after-quiet of your favorite song, or maybe an expectant hollow waiting for a phone to ring? Because once we start to name them, we can start to truly hear them